All right. This is the first time that I've had Kurt all to myself for ChirpCast.
Oh.
We're going to talk Chirp. We're going to talk some other stuff. We're going to just hang out because we never get to just do that. But
Yeah,
first,
I'm gonna put my feet up on the
do
table.
that. I think as the Grand High Wizard, if you don't have your feet up, this isn't a real party.
Yeah, there you go.
They're fun stuff. So, Kurtybot, what's up? How you doing?
Oh, that was random. All of a sudden, it just like went black. But no, I was saying that there better be something good after that intro.
I know, right? It does raise the bar a little bit. It's like, man, this is a little serious. They both have mic shields. There will be very few plosives.
Yeah, we got to make our voice sound sexy.
I mean, this is the thing. You gotta get close to the mic because then you can't talk loud.
Getting real close.
Getting real close. It's like I'm talking right into your ear, right into your ear hole.
What's on the agenda today, my homie?
I mean, so excuse me. I started this podcast talking to a bunch of people that were kind of getting introduced to Chirp, and some channels and yada yada yada, right? And obviously we've fixed a bunch of stuff. We've improved a bunch of stuff. We finally launched crypto, and from what I can see, it's having exactly the effect that we hoped that it would. Once people start figuring out how to get their stuff going on, and we haven't just had a chance to go, hey, like, remember that Chirp idea we had? How's that going?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to dig in. Maybe to even tell people a little bit about, how we've gotten to where we've gotten now. So maybe I'll just start with this. What made you think of building Chirp, and who was in the room, if anyone?
So when I think that there was this thing that was going on the EOS mainnet where, like, the resources were kind of an issue, and then there were like people considering building these side chains and sister chains, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, right? And then we just started thinking, you should be able to do certain things. And actually it was kind of a joke at first, honestly. Like, we heard about voice, and I was talking with Fred from Lynx, who was building a side chain at the time, and that now that he's with Metal, and all those guys went over to Metal. And it was just like, they're going to build this really complicated voice social network where, they're going to bake it all into the chain and do all this fancy stuff. And then we were just thinking, what if we made a social site where you could interact with these tokens? But we built it, instead of over a year, we built it in like a month or less or something, right? And so we thought, we could kind of make it like Twitter or something. And so the idea of Chirp is kind of like, Chirp is like just the sound that a bird makes. And so it's kind of like, we want to just be such a small sliver of something that's larger. And, Twitter is a bird, but then the bird makes a chirp, and it's just this subtle, small thing, one aspect of a bird. And so that's why we called it that. And we wanted to build it on Lynx chain, which was a side chain that would explore some of these cheaper resources. And that's it was sort of a joke too, like, we were kind of trolling a little bit on voice in a way, but we love voice too. We do it all out of love, for sure. And like, I think the thing that really sounded good to me at first was, let's do the things that we do, like Twitter and Facebook and all this other nonsense that we do online that we're addicted to, that we probably can't stop doing. But let's do it with the tokens and the crypto stuff that we love.
Right.
That was the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems, and it's gone through some iterations, but the longer I look at the potential destinations from where we're taking this right now, the bigger the picture gets in my mind. Like, I know from a project point of view, you know, we want to get to the point, and you know, even as sort of like the community thing, like I am looking forward to getting to the point where I can't follow all the posts. Like, that's sort of my near-term goal, right? Where there's so much going on that I'm not going to be able to touch every one of them, which is kind of my goal right now, right? Like, every single post, I'm either going to, you know, fire off some multi-likes, which is the sleeper hit of the whole site. Pisses me off every time I can't multi-like something anywhere else. Like, it totally changes directions instantly because I can't let this go. You know, after touchscreens were around for a while, how soon was it before you started trying to touch TVs or other computers and get mad that they didn't do anything?
That never happened to me because I'm not dumb.
Oh, so I'm dumb. A,
no,
fuck
like
you. B, you're right. I mean, no, that's fair because you're like, oh no, TVs don't do that.
I'm just playing. No, honestly, I did. I did it many times. I think like I've been so dumb actually that like I think I was sleepy and I like tried to pull an object out of a screen. You know what I mean?
That's, well, now that VR is around, that's not even crazy anymore. Like, that's, you know, it's dumb that you can't pick stuff. I've been playing Robo Recall like it's my job the last little while.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
For Oculus, it's the game that came with it, and it's the best game that's come out.
I'm kind of jealous right now because like you're telling me something I don't know that I feel like I missed out on.
Yeah, I feel it's weird. You should try Robo Recalls. It's really well done. You can check out basically anything. It's good stuff.
So yeah, I will check it out. I just got a Quest 2 and I've been really excited about VR, surprisingly, because when it first came out, it was like, when you're a technology enthusiast, I guess you sort of just get excited about everything, but you kind of sort of know in the back of your mind, like, this could be a fad.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of people, they kind of well, I feel like people overestimated VR in a lot of ways, and that's true for a lot of these things. But then I feel like even though I overestimate the future of it, I sort of underestimated how much I would actually like it now. Like, I thought, like, a lot of these things that I'm really excited about, I'm not enjoying them now. Like, I'm really excited about space travel, but like, I'm stuck on Earth and I don't have a fucking rocket ship. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even have like a low Earth orbit satellite that I own even one piece of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like, criminal. That's sad.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I mean,
I'm doing it.
Yeah, you could be there. Well, and you know, they're for their first the moon trip that space. Holy crap! It's been a long day. SpaceX is planning. Mm-hmm. They have like some mogul, you know, bought like a 5 or 6 seats for artists and poets and shit like that.
Oh yeah, the Japanese dude.
Yeah. And they're just gonna go to the moon and, you know, wrap around, come back or whatever. There's supposed to be a full like VR rig camera on the inside and in the nose, so you can basically ride along the entire thing.
Damn, dude, this is what I live for. Like what you just said right there. Like, we could just turn the camera off and just like call it a day.
Yeah,
basically after that.
Price of admission, exactly. That's why we're here. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, man. No, I mean it's exciting, and so I guess how that kind of loops back into what we were talking about is like, there's a lot of things that I'm excited about, but you can't really like touch those things, you know, like, but I feel like augmented reality, mixed reality, and VR, like, I'm surprised how much I like VR. Like, yesterday I spent about an hour in VR, and what I did was I was playing Pistol Whip, and I just feel like I felt like John Wick. Like, like why would I want to do anything else if I can just fucking be John Wick? Like, he's awesome.
That's,
you know what I mean? Why would I do anything else? Yeah, no, I mean, you might have peaked a little early, but you've definitely peaked. Like, that's it's not going to get any better than that. So I like Pistol Whip. I would argue, and I'd love to get your opinion once you try it, the Robo Recall is significantly better. Yeah, no, I will. I'll try it for sure. Yeah.
It's good shit.
But I guess what I was trying to say is that like we're using crypto today like every day now. Like before we were theorizing about NFTs and we were theorizing about how you could like integrate these things into something seamlessly.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've spent a lot of time on Chirp, as you know, together, trying to make these things easier to use today. And I feel like what we've come up with actually is just that. Like, I imagine a day, which is coming up pretty soon, actually, where every little channel that you hop in and you add some value in a post, those channels might have themes that are related to crypto, and they might have tokens, right? Like you should have an EOS channel where you post about EOS and you earn EOS. You have a wax channel. And I imagine that all these things are like these little pools that are provided in different ways. Who knows how they're provided? It could be that those pools come from advertising dollars, and then the advertising dollars dump into those crypto pools and incentivize even further, because maybe the EOS channel, for example, is earning more ads. People go and they post an EOS and then they create ads, and we parlay some of that advertising dollars into pools. But each currency should in theory have a pool on Chirp with an associated channel. Then you post there and you earn it. I mean, it's really that simple. And I just imagine they're like these, it's just like you do on any other thing, like in Telegram. Like I hop in this NFT place, and then I hop in the Dust channel, and I hop in the Wax channel. It's like all of those things should allow me to yield a piece of that thing while contributing, right? That's the whole thing. It's like, I'm not really into that whole data thing that I know that you're really into. And so I want to honor that. But like for me, the thing that really I'm really empathetic for, like, just like no one's like, probably not that many people are going to watch this, but like I cried the other day when I watched somebody using something that I built, because I realize how precious people's time is, and that they're going to place their time on this existence that we don't understand fully. They're going to spend their time fucking with something that we built, and how precious that is. Like we drew them into something that we built with their one life that they have to live. And it really choked me up, because I thought like they're using their life's energy that they have. I'm not trying to get like too deep into like that, because I feel like that's kind of spiritual, but like, so
I don't think you should make excuses or apologies for that. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah. And so when somebody tells me this thing about, well, like, let's just imagine this kid that I was looking at, his name is Joe or something, right? So when somebody says, some fucking back alley place has Joe's data somewhere, it's like, what does he have? Okay, that he likes fucking, he likes Cheetos, flaming hot Cheetos. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I give zero fucks about that. Like, honestly, like, so what? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to be like, okay, Joe likes flaming hot Cheetos. Maybe he'll like Hot Pockets too. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, fine. And it does, that rabbit hole does get darker and deeper, where it's like, all these dudes in the fucking Dust Bowl, we can figure out which ones are kind of low IQ, because the ones that eat more flaming hot Cheetos,
it's not helping their IQ. Or maybe it is. Maybe we just discover something totally random and new.
Yeah, but it could be that like, well, we know all these Joes that are kind of white trash or whatever it is. We know that they like flaming hot Cheetos, and the more flaming hot Cheetos they like, the more white trash they are, and therefore they might vote for Trump, right? And so now we start controlling their minds. And yes, it does. There's a dark alley maybe somewhere, but like that stuff doesn't really resonate with me. What resonates with me is that that person came here to spend their life's energy. It's like the app, it like Facebook, it holds their life, their time in their hands, and it's precious. And now that you have their attention, what are we doing with that attention? We have an opportunity, right? And so
even just the way that you said that, the fact that you get moved by that, and again, like I spend and have spent, because I'm going to ask this at the end of our session today, the questions that I ask everybody, and in so doing, like it's a concern that's out there, right? So we end up talking about that, in the context of Chirp, but it makes me, especially because we've had a lot of conversations off air, obviously, and getting to know the kinds of principles that we as a team would be applying to this. I get excited about that because it doesn't matter if we see the sort of the dark side of it the same way, because I feel like we want to build the same kind of thing that just genuinely honors the shit out of the time and energy of the people that come on the app, up to and including the point where every single channel could have some kind of cryptocurrency on there that is maybe parlayed from the channel owner or whatever. Like, there's a bunch of different ideas that we could talk about. Long story short, now everywhere that you post, you're actually getting something back from that, right? You could be earning like all sorts of Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything, right?
Channel, and we mint a token for you. You know what I mean? Like automatically. And then you could take your token with you to other places if you wanted to. Like, build your Telegram channel that then integrates your token into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like these little communities, they're places where you can test the idea. And like, one of the things with Dust, for example, and the reason why I want to integrate Dust in is because what I realized is that what Dust can kind of do for some of these people is it can empower them to build a community.
Yep.
Because, like, if let's just say there's no Dust, right? It's like you could build your community. Okay, fine. But if you have some information about Dust and that you can earn Dust in a community, well, that like empowers you. It's like, you know what? That's going to be the thing that pushes me over the edge to build my, like, I saw somebody built a Wax gaming group today and they added me to it, right? It's like, this is my time to build my music community or whatever. It's like these little things can kind of nudge somebody in a way. And I think it's positive because, like, I'm proud of these guys. I look at that they're building these little communities, and that's amazing because I remember what it was like before I had built any communities. I felt shy about it. I felt like, well, if I build my community, like, what if nobody joins it? Like, that might make me feel bad, or what if, and so I feel like when you have this supportive kind of community and a framework for doing it, empowers people to do it because now they're going to do it. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Right. So,
yeah. I think that's the same for anybody that doesn't know. I think, like, the reason that you and I met, you were building Morty's. I minted Chirp.la as a joke, and then it turned into this really entertaining thing. And what struck out when you're talking about the communities and sort of being nudged to and empowered as smaller communities, the tribes were doing that. People were starting their own kind of bribing groups with Morty's, and Dust has just taken that to a whole other level. Right, especially with the tools that you've managed to make it a function. Just so for people that don't know, if you don't know, Dust is a cryptocurrency. It was just originally minted for Nifty Wizards, which is a NFT Wizards game. Look it up; it's completely and totally mental. But it went crazy because basically Kurt managed to figure out how to award people one Dust token for every time they comment in a Telegram channel. And of course now there's how many Dust mines are there?
There's almost 100.
I mean, that's all right.
It's growing, and there's a few thousand people that are mining now, and it exceeded 3 million transactions, which I think is really awesome.
That's huge.
So yeah, I think that's kind of like the secret metric there. That I feel like, I mean, the shit works. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And so the staking went live today, actually. So now you can stake, and it's a really unique staking model too, because I mean, there's all this shit that we haven't figured out, but because that's kind of the way that I like to do stuff. I just want to do it in like 5 minutes and then like let it marinate, But so staking is interesting because I could stake Dust to you and like 100 other people if I wanted to. I could be like, I'm going to stake 50 Dust to Corey. I'm going to stake 50 Dust to this other guy.
So how does that work? What's just like staking normally? You basically lock your cryptocurrency up in a contract, and then you get some kind of rewards or whatever. But how does it work for Dust?
So it doesn't work, but here's how. Like,
we're doing it. It doesn't work, but you could do it still though.
Like we're very much like they have that saying where like you jump off the building and you like build the parachute on the way down. Well, like we've taken it a step further. It's like you jump off the building and then you die, and then you hope that like you could resurrect yourself in the afterlife or something. So it's sort of, so staking is actually fully functional. The staking, and you can stake and unstake, and you can do it to anybody, and it's all on the chain. It's great. But what we haven't figured out yet is like how we want to tie all that in to like rewards and things like that, right? And I'm just kind of like thinking about it. But I always believe that we can figure something out, and that's sort of how I like to build Chirp too, and how I like to build anything that I build, is that you kind of know you need this thing, which is sort of a tool, and then you don't think you have all the answers, and then you kind of figure it out on the fly, building a parachute on the way down. And so when we kind of knew when we first built Chirp was that we wanted people to fuck with currencies inside of a social environment. But then remember, it was a nightmare because we had to, consult a wallet nonstop. Every you have to get the wallet and touch the wallet, and like it was just monotonous, right? And so we got rid of that. Now we have social logins, and what I kind of see the software layer as is just like, that's just the thing that enables you to interact with the currency. Like you don't need to have all this fancy stuff. Like I don't believe in KYC, for example. Like I just really don't. I don't think that there needs to be a strip search when you go into the fucking cafe to have a chat to get your like latte. You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's like, imagine having a bouncer at Starbucks fucking like pulling your pants down, basically trying to figure out, who you are. It's a little bit weird. Like, I don't like that. And so and that's the way I want to build stuff. Like, it's sort of like, let's do it in a fun way, and let's let the community get involved in how they do it, rather than thinking that we have all the answers.
It because of the way channels have evolved. I think it has this really, really interesting way of working in exactly the same way. So like I own a channel, for example. And if and I'm just gonna say when, because like, we need to figure it out. I want to start a dust mine, because why the fuck wouldn't I want to start a dust mine in the SpaceX channel? Are you kidding me? Of course I'll do that, right? Like, what's the deal I got to cut? And make that happen. And I think there would be, everybody who owns a channel, why wouldn't they automatically want to do that? And I think this is where, we gotta work our buddy Chris over to make sure we can do this. And hopefully he'll listen to this. But I think dust is what we should have done in the beginning. Because I think it has a ready audience. They're entirely aware of how it should work. It allows us to test, I think, at scale, right? Because I mean, I want to see Bitcoin, I want to see Ethereum, I want to see every token with a project come in and run their own channel, and allow people to mine that cryptocurrency in those respective channels. And I think at someday you're going to see 1,000 different projects on Chirp, and I think that's going to be amazing. But Dust allows us to play with all the economics to get people really, really used to that idea. And the Dust ecosystem is already getting interesting. I know there's ways to interact with Nifty Wizards that I want to ask you about, because I saw like some like we're doing the shop now. Like that's a thing that's happening with Dust. People are doing auctions with it. People like us for a while, we were playing around with that. So there's a million different ideas, and it all redounds to each channel owner can make some decisions based on that, and can even Ken, for example, could go out. Ken Bosnak could go out and find some token that wants to support his channel, and and do some revenue sharing with them, or some advertising for them, or whatever in a channel, and he could just go and make that deal, and we could make it happen for him.
Yeah, and we could stack them in all these interesting ways. I think that's one of the unique things that we're doing is like, just imagine, because like one of the things that sort of inspired me too was Coinbase. Well, it was earn.com first, and then they sold to Coinbase. But it was like, here's this place that I go I do these things and then I get some currency. But these things that I do, it's not like labor. It's not like, hey, come over here and fucking dig a ditch, you know? It's come over here and learn about cryptocurrency that we're going to give you. I think it's amazing. You know, it's like if you're a financial service and, you know, you want to educate somebody, like let's say about Stellar token or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like you go there, you learn about Stellar, which is amazing because now you're learning this information that's pretty niche, very useful. It's next level. It's futuristic. It's exciting. But then I earned something for it too. And that's kind of what I think in a nutshell we're going for, is that we want people to do this thing that feels like this post thing they do over on Twitter or Reddit or whatever. But when you do it, you yield all kinds of different tokens. And I think that like I could see a day where we're literally interacting with thousands of tokens, and then it becomes sort of like, and I don't like, we could just like bleep this out, but it's like a social exchange where like instead of trading tokens, what you're doing is you're trading ideas and memes, and they're social things. They're things that people share with each other. But what you're doing is that you're also exchanging currencies, and you're mining. You're mining the currencies through these things that you're already doing by exchanging value with other people. And the value just happens to be these fun things like memes, funny quotes. You say how much you hate Donald Trump or whatever it is. You can come over here and you've got a place where you're going to earn for it too, you know? And then we also have our own token. And I kind of, the way that I see that is like kind of like the oil of the system or the gas of the system in the way, because in order to do all these things, you'll need our core token. So it's sort of like you have Binance, you want to do a bunch of shit, then have some BNB. It makes it easier for you. It takes the edge off, right? And so there's a lot more for that too. Like, you know, we're a virtualized token, but I feel like we could, in the future, it's very easy. And knowing the way that we build and the principles we build under, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we have a fucking Ethereum token that's coins. I don't know, you know, but we'll figure it out.
Well, and keeping it internal, you know, imagine, so, you know, it's 6 months from now, right? And, you know, everybody's starting to get, you know, I don't know, there's like 10, 15, 20 different tokens that people are ordering all over the place. And right now, you know, we're making sure that everybody has enough coins, right? Like, where the spigot's open, you need any, I'll create some missions or whatever. Like, people aren't, you know, really running out, right? And you know, I want to make sure that it stays that way. Like, we're keeping the system very oiled and fueled. But down the road, you know, you're going to have to, like, that system I could see getting formalized. Say, you know, you run out of that gas or run out of that system. Well, the tokens that you've earned through all of this posting, you know, you can just spend some of those and buy some more coins, and you re-up and you keep moving. So I could see it just, you know, again, it's the coin of the realm, right? Like, you could basically trade some of this other attention stuff to refuel your posting habits, so you can do some more fucking food pictures or whatever the hell you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And so there's just like a common theme with all this stuff, you know, and I think that we can tie it all in together. I think that, you know, I think that we're finally at a point to where the Telos stuff, and I'm glad that we started with Telos, because in a way I feel like we owe something to Telos in a way, because Telos has been pretty supportive in some ways. I don't always like the way that they run the chain, and I like to just keep my opinions freely and freely talk shit whenever I want to. But the Telos chain, I feel like, has been very supportive. They supported D-Mail. They supported our products in the past. And so to me, I feel really good about bringing Telos in first and having it as a good test. And they also have some other check boxes that they tick off. Like, they have cheap resources, which is good because we don't want to incur all these resource costs. They're a side chain. They're EOS.io compatible. And so I think that we can just crush all EOS.io tokens. That's kind of like what I think is next. And we want to be able to integrate them really quickly. It's just a matter of send the token into this wallet, which is like our Chirp wallet, our rewards wallet. Now there's a pool, whatever. And then we just tie that to the channel, and boom, Like, I would love to have all these other great tokens, and I've been talking to people too, and I know that you have as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if within a month or so we have, you know, like 20 or more tokens inside of our application just bouncing around, you know.
Yes.
Mm.
Sound Genie, he said he had a question, and he said, could the Telos channel earn Telos? Well, it does.
It does. I think that Sound Genie, I tried to explain it to him, but here's how it works. You go into a Telos channel, you make a post in the Telos channel, you get 10 Telos for that post. It goes directly to your wallet right when you post it. And then when someone comes along and likes it, no matter who they are, they don't have to have Telos. There's no Telos being exchanged between users, actually. The Telos comes directly from a rewards wallet. There's a pool. So when you post, you get your 10 Telos. You don't need anybody's permission. You don't need a fucking wallet. And then when someone comes along and likes it, that draws a like from the pool as well. It draws Telos from the pool, 1 Telos per like. That's the way it works. Post, you get 10 Telos. And that works inside of the Telos channel only. So if you go into another channel, you won't get it. But see, our plan in the future is that each channel will have their own way of distributing. Like, it might be that one channel about NFTs yields you a NFT for posting there because it's about NFTs, and that's the crypto asset that most matches that. It could be that Nifty Wizards, you post in Nifty Wizards channel, you yield a particular NFT from that set, right?
Oh, you know what? I know what he's talking about now. Sorry, finish your thought on the NFTs because I really dig that part.
Go ahead. I might misunderstand because I can't see what he's saying. So,
you know, I think he's asking if does the Telos channel owner earn any Telos? And I think so. The way to understand this, Sound Genie, is the owner. Let's put it this way. Like, I own the SpaceX channel, right? And I post in there all the time. And it's super lonely. Nobody else posts in there. Please post in my SpaceX channel because it's awesome and it's fun. But let's say I want to like ramp it up. So I'm gonna, get my hands on some dust and come to Kurt and the team and say, hey, I want to turn this into a dust mine because I want the SpaceX channel to be way more active, right? So we're gonna figure out how to turn it into a dust mine. Now, dust mines in Telegram, if you could be so lucky to set one up, are set up so that every action, one token goes to the poster and one token goes to the dust mine operator, right? Now, maybe that's going to be the case for Chirp. We'll have to ask the High Wizard of Dust if that's going to be the way that goes. But for Telos, basically they're doing it as a promotion, right? So they're the ones who bring the Telos to us. We put it into the pool, and then it is earned by the community actually doing that stuff. So basically, I think the channel owner is basically going to be responsible for that, more or less, right, Kurt?
So I think there's a number of ways we could do it, and I think that there probably will be multiple ways that are implemented.
Okay,
but kind of the perfect version of this is that there might be a channel owner. Like, let's say it's somebody at Telos that is willing to take on the responsibilities of administrating that channel. Then what would happen is when a post goes into that channel, there would also be a draw from the pool for the administrator because he's running the channel, and so he deserves to earn, the poster deserves to earn, and that's kind of the perfect one. But right now, that's not the way it works in Telos because, we created the Telos channel ourselves. We haven't really appointed an administrator, but I think that that's the ideal way to do it, is that the administrator makes a fee as well.
Yeah, that it really celebrates the idea that the channel owner can be the main community organizer, community driver, which I think has definitely worked in all the dust channels, and worked with Chirp tribes. So that just you're enabling that sort of level of social organization, which works.
Yeah, we want these channels to kind of feel like properties in a game. And I think that there's a lot of things we can do with those properties. Like you might want to sell your property. And so we've kind of considered all these different ideas about how you could auction your channel, and then whoever wins it, they're now the administrator. They're like little franchise restaurants or whatever, and that's the way it's kind of ran on Reddit, is that there might be a bunch of administrators and they're kind of running these channels. They're sort of like little businesses, because you run it, you're building relationships through the channel, you're learning through the channel, and you might be even selling or promoting goods for a channel. That might be the marketing, one of your many marketing channels that you have for a product. So they're like properties, and it's all about location, right?
Yep. Just that's Bitcoin.com.
Yeah. So, we're almost there. I think we're getting closer. Right now, what we have the ability to do is that now that Telos, we had a few hiccups, but that's to be expected with any new feature that's big like that. But now what we have the power to do is add any EOS IO token to any channel. So yeah, it's pretty sexy actually.
Right. I mean, I feel like I gotta start a Chirp.la mine at some point. Like I think we gotta do Dust first.
I mean, you really could anytime you want to. You just gotta gotta do some convincing on the guys to
how much
toggle it on for you.
Who do I need to massage? Did I make it weird?
It's okay. I'm not gonna report you.
All right, cool. Again, you mean? Just kidding. I'd love to see even to do that at exploring the kind of deal that we want to do, right? Because obviously Chirp is a business. Our goal is to make money. We're sort of doing this crypto mine as a service, community distribution of a token as a service, which I like. I think there's obviously some good movement that we can do there. But what kind of what would the ultimate deal be? Because again, Chirp.la, I'm not beholden to anyone. We could do whatever the hell we want. You know what I mean? There's no rules whatsoever. But I can't wait until we see token projects that are coming out, because they honestly and we're small now. We're not gonna be small forever. Coming to us and saying well, okay, let's put say 1% of our circulating supply in this pool, and yeah. Because honestly, why not, right? What are they gonna do with that is smarter than putting it into something like Chirp?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways we could do it. So it could be that we just yield some of the pool when some action happens, because then it's action based, right? Where they don't have to give us a lot in order to get started. Or it could be that you can do whatever you want with your tokens and we don't touch them, but you pay us some money to run your group. You pay us in those old fiat dollars if you want to run your group. There's a lot of different ways we can do it, and I think we just need to discover where the demand is. Mm-hmm. And I always love to just try to discover what's fun for people and what's working, and then keep working on that rather than getting too mixed up. I mean, we all love money for sure, but I think that if you want to make a lot of it, you just got to be patient. You don't need to figure it all out right now. And so that's kind of the way that I feel about it. I think that we want to make something that people really love, and that if you took it away from them, that they would feel like that's one of the things that I love about, I forget who created this philosophy, but they're like, you want to figure out how much demand there is for something, take it away, and it's interesting because I know that a lot of these bigger, even a big torrenting business, there's a few businesses that have done this, and it's become kind of a standard for marketers. What they do is they send out these surveys that basically say how would you feel if we just took this part of the service away from you? And the response tells people like how much demand there is for that thing. And
So
so I
like,
think that, well, I'm just saying that
yeah.
you should strive to create something that's so valuable to somebody that if you take it away, you ruin their life.
So all I could think of was like, what you're telling me is Facebook are the ones that are making those posts that go viral, that Facebook's going to delete itself and like fucking it's going to be a charged thing pretty soon. Like Facebook is making those posts go viral just to gauge their own demand.
I mean, maybe it's an interesting conspiracy theory.
Right?
I think that
From the guy who hates conspiracy theories, but plausible.
I love conspiracy
I
theories.
don't. I honestly,
you don't like them.
I fundamentally, like, I'm mad at myself for suggesting one. Not that mad because it's funny, but still.
Maybe you're revealing something about yourself. Last night I watched a fucking UFO documentary and it was amazing, dude. I love it.
I mean, you know,
it makes you really like this one that I watched last night. It's called Phenomenon, and it's probably one of the best put together documentaries I've ever seen about UFOs.
That's cool.
It's like the best. And like at the end of it, I fucking believe in UFO. I believe that like there might be fucking
like
aliens.
This year, and of course it's 2020. This year, the Navy basically releases video of UFO, and everyone's like, "Fuck it, it's 2020. We can't even process this right now." But like, they're legit. And my buddy Greg, who I do, my morning show with, aviation nut, and could tell you what the fucking screw sizes are on the wheels of like the SR-71 Blackbird, like completely and totally insane like that. And so he follows all these kind of Navy, Air Force channels and types of people anyway. And he was like, no, these people are dead serious. Like this is like a real thing. Like, well, I'm not that surprised, but it's weird that it just like that landed with like a whisper. People were like, oh, cool. There's pandemic. Social revolution.
Yeah, I think
UFOs will have to wait.
We should just like talk about some weird shit for a second, because like, or some fun extracurricular stuff, I guess. So, what I find, to me, it's like a puzzle, and I thought like I love quests and I love stories, and I sort of discovered that later in life because I was just an athlete before, and I guess those are stories, and they're games with rules. And so I guess there was always a sign that I was a nerd, but
I didn't know that you were an athlete before. What did you do?
Oh, I played everything, man. But I was a skateboarder. I was a competition skateboarder for almost 10 years. Okay. And yeah, you learn something new every day. Yeah, I mean, like, I established so much of my personality from skateboarding. It's almost like embarrassing in a way, because it's just like it's such a part of me that like everything that I do is kind of related to like how I skateboarded. But now it's like a past life, but I know that it still has an impact on me. I just don't realize it as much. But so where were we?
We were talking about some weird shit, some extracurricular shit.
Yeah. So the shit with aliens, is like, with quests, that's what we were talking about. So quests is like, sometimes I have this secret feeling that aliens have put us on a quest. And that we're all in their fucking quest, whether or not we want to admit it or not. It's not something I believe. This is just me kind of spitballing. So
no, I'm not.
But I feel like what they're doing is they're putting us on a quest to find them. And that they're doing it subtly because they don't want to just... It's really boring just to come down here, or not down, but to come to Earth and just be like... Because like you'll see these like 50s movies or whatever where it's like the alien just comes out and he's like, here I am, motherfuckers. Like, now I'm going to kill you. Yeah. You know what I mean? But these guys are some next... They're probably some really next level thinkers. Like, they might even be coming out of another dimension. And if they are, they're pretty fucking smart, okay? Like, the shit they're on, we don't know about. They're just like, we don't know about it fucking squared, basically, okay? And
right. So it's like a two-dimensional ant trying to consider, the Mona Lisa and our human reaction to it.
It could be worse than that. I don't know, but
or it could be many orders of magnitude, dimensionally speaking, from an ant to us, but times 10 times that.
Yeah, for sure. And so
I'm with you.
It feels like a quest in a way, because when you look at a lot of these ways that aliens will, there's like these patterns that happen. And I think this documentary phenomena kind of it's like, okay, well, aliens were around these nuclear things. So a lot of people are thinking that it's like aliens telling us be careful, because what you're fucking with is kind of dangerous. And they think that there's actually alien lore that's really consistent. A lot of people believe that aliens are trying to warn us about technology, and that and so for me it's really interesting, because even if it's not an alien quest, I don't know if aliens exist, obviously, but my guess, one of my guesses is that it's like a magic show, and that people are participating in this magic show to kind of, we've built this creature in our own lore. Let's say it wasn't true, right? Well, what is an alien then, right? An alien is no different from a god or some other lore, like a fucking Loch Ness monster, or it's kind of similar to those things. We built this lore around it, right?
Yeah.
But if it is true, what the fuck is it? Because, and that's really, it's a puzzle for me. So I feel like it's a puzzle and a quest. So whether aliens are true or not, it's a puzzle for me. But if they are true, then it's a quest that they've put us on, because they're so fucking smart that they know exactly what we're going to do. And with the way that you see these vehicles, something stuck out to me about the way that these fighter pilots talk about these vehicles, is they said that there's something that when you're fighting against an enemy, whether they have the upper hand on you. Mm-hmm. And so the way that they describe these alien vehicles is that they know everything. The way that they maneuver their vehicles reveals that these fucking things are just totally, there's no competing against it. They always know, and they have the upper hand, and they're displaying their intelligence by the way that they maneuver a vehicle, right? And so what that tells me is, if you have that kind of intelligence, it also means you understand how people are going to perceive it. And I feel like aliens, where they are in our culture, is actually perfect. It's not enough to disrupt society completely. It's not global warming, or it's not going to, we can still go to work. It's not, aliens came down like fucking Independence Day and everybody's got to stop what they're doing. It's not COVID, so I feel like it's clever. They injected their presence enough into society to where now we're on a quest, and our quest is to figure out what the fuck that is. And I accept that quest. So that's kind of there's just two different competing, so they're totally fake, and then now it's a magic show, and we have to figure out, we're Houdini basically, because that's all Houdini did. Houdini debunked all this shit, right? Yeah. And so we're either so it's I accept the challenge either way. We're either Houdini, we need to debunk these alien conspiracies, or there might be some other fucking shit going on that we're not aware of, and we need to figure out what the fuck that is.
I and it's funny. I love the distinction between it's either a puzzle or a quest. I think
it's a puzzle or a quest. Yeah,
right. Because either one is awesome, except the quest is better.
You think so? Well, are you a quester or are you a debunker?
Well, both. Don't tell anyone.
Okay. Yeah, I'm both too. I have to admit, but
because I'll definitely debunk, because it is a core sort of principle for me to require evidence. There's evidence of unidentified flying objects.
No, I don't think so.
Testimony and video being evidence, right? Evidence that can be faked. It's still evidence,
in that sense, yeah. But see, the video, it's if the video is a hoax itself, then there's
always. I mean, that's always possible.
Evidence is evidence, even if it's fake, though. That's the thing, right?
Yeah,
and so there's just so many questions that I have about these vehicles too, right? Because I think that is what everybody thinks is a smoking gun. Is those vehicles that those fighter pilots recorded, right? Yeah. They have recordings of them, and it's I don't know, dude. Maybe it was a fucking hologram that somebody projected in a way. Like, part of me really believes, because I'm big into science, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of me believes that there is a scientific explanation behind somebody fucking with us. That is almost more plausible.
It just is. Occam's razor and all of human history dictates that that's the most likely outcome, right?
Yeah.
But where it gets fun is like, there are. I mean, it is entirely not only possible, but it's probable that that's what it is. But it's also not for sure that's what it is.
So check this out. Here's like a contrary thing that still means Occam's razor stands the test of time. If there's other beings, right? Like, it's not like we're saying that these are gods or they're, unicorns. Like, they're just other animals that just happen to be on another lily pad somewhere in the universe. So it's not like it's Zeus fucking zapping us with electricity or lightning or whatever the fuck he did, right?
Yeah.
It's another being from another planet, and we're proof that exists. Therefore, if you start attributing other phenomena that we see to other beings, it's not really that much of a leap from saying humans caused that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've been doing that our whole history, right? Like, there's 10,000 religions. Every single one of them was an invention. In the same way, though, right? Like, I think one of the most amazing things about the human mind is its capacity for pattern recognition, and which turns into storytelling, right? It's not just, I see a fun, cool picture in the sky with some stars and draw a line. I have to make it into a scorpion, and then there's 12 of them, and then they're clearly having all these interrelationships because I'm doing that down here, and my imagination is going bananas, and everybody really loves these stories, so I'm getting more meat if I tell more stories. And right? And
don't get me started on stories, though, dude. Like,
but it's so intertwined, because now here we are, this hyper, for us anyway, this hyper technological civilization on Earth compared to every other age for human beings or whatever, and the old mythologies, the old stories don't work as well. They don't speak to this. And now we have these UFOs, and we invent these stories and quests, and hopefully your video gets fixed, where it becomes kind of aspirational, right? Like, now, like you said, it's this puzzle, it's this quest to figure out, what are these mysteries, and it drags us into higher and higher levels of technological transcendence. Maybe.
Yeah, I realized something the other day. I don't know if you saw that tweet, but I realized this thing where prophecies and messiahs started to make sense to me the other day, like in a practical sense in a modern world. And so hear me out on this one. Like, you see, people are real divisive in this nation, right? Super divisive. Like, it's like people believe there's going to be a civil war, which I think is kind of crazy, but that's how bad it is. But I was thinking that this is why cultures invented messiahs. Because, imagine that we invented a messiah that came to unite the different viewpoints in America, right? And we started to build lore and build stories about this messiah, right? Well, that in a way creates a messiah. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy, actually, right? So, and so we could and think about it right now, we have almost zero power and almost zero hope that some person or some party or something can unite these people that hate each other for some reason, right? And so it's almost like if we did start creating a messiah, it might make it more probable that could actually happen.
Well, then it's
a cry for help to build a messiah.
Well, and I think, and again, I desperately do not want to get into politics. But looking at how how quickly people are willing to throw out anything resembling reason, facts, truth, or honesty, or dignity for that matter.
Yeah, we could just split this podcast into like two pieces. Actually, the first one's about Chirp, and then we just talk about
right. Well, this I just want to. I honestly like. I'm already at the point where I'm like, can I book you for the same time next week? We could do exactly the same thing because this is fun and I like it, and I would promote the shit out of it. I think it'd be really cool.
Sorry for the noise over here.
No, that's fine. Yeah, like there's clearly something in the human condition that when we're under duress, we move to that. And I mean, you look at it. I always think anytime the whole Messiah thing comes up, especially as a means to control. I did a lot of study about the Roman Empire, the fall of the Roman Republic. If you want to get into how that republic actually turned into the empire, check out the hardcore history arc on it. If you can get your hands on it, it's freaking fantastic. I learned a lot, but learning how that turned into the Catholic Church is really fascinating because they had, the Catholic Church's seat is in Rome. They use all the same roads as the Roman Empire. They, control most of the same area as the Roman Empire, but they just do it with mostly with a story. The Roman, Roman Catholic Church has its own military, but they try not to use it. They're still getting almost the same amount of revenue in it. We're going to call it tithing now, not taxes, which is fun. And they even use the same buildings to collect the tithes and the same kind of corporations. And this is how the Romans did it. They would basically give you a contract as a corporation to take a small army and go out to this country and collect as many tithes as you can. And you would serve that up to the empire. So like really the early empire for the entire Dark Ages was just a different way to use soft power to control an empire. And they didn't call it the Roman Republic anymore or the Roman Empire anymore. They just called it the Catholic Church. But it did all the same stuff. Reading
something about it where it says that they kind of realized in like 400, I think somewhere around 400 AD, I remember, that they realized that it was a tool that they could use.
Right.
And that's when Christianity really took off, was right around 400 AD, because that was when it was really like, wow, like we can use this it's an interesting story. Like that's what's like kind of hard for me to deal with sometimes, because see, I was raised as a Christian and I went to a Christian church, and like people would think if I said something like I love Jesus or something, they'd probably fucking freak if they heard me say something like that. And I probably never would say something like that anyways, because I kind of know what it means and it's kind of creepy, I think, for people. Mm-hmm. But like, I am very inspired by the story of Jesus as a person who doesn't believe in God or anything like that. I mean, he just seemed like we're still like, when you think about a marketer should have a lot of respect, right? Because we're still talking about Jesus thousands of years later. That motherfucker ran a marketing campaign.
That shit worked.
Like, yeah, it just worked, right? I'm not saying that he was a marketer, but like there was something about the dude that was special, and it wasn't like he was Hitler. It's not like it's that controversial to really say, like maybe in a few thousand years, someone might say that about Hitler, but it was like the guy was a fucking asshole that was killing people, right?
For the record, they will not. I
don't really know. I don't know what will happen. Like,
yeah,
because I really don't. Like, people talk about Genghis Khan in a way that it glorifies him.
See, this is interesting, and Dan Carlin did a bit on this as well, and it's this kind of take on. And I think he was using Alexander the Great as an example, but he talked about Genghis Khan a lot. He did a whole arc on them both, frankly, but on Genghis Khan, and he did this thing that most people weren't doing, which was talking about how many fucking people they murdered, like a significant percentage of the human population alive at the time.
Hitler looked like a fucking schoolgirl,
literally. Like, and again, for the record, if you take all the deaths in World War II and all the death camps, I think the total is around the same. But as a percentage of the human population alive at the time, Genghis Khan was probably 1,000 times worse. It between 25 and 50 million people, and it's mind-boggling. And the way he tells the story is like he tells the harsh reality of it. These people were vicious rapists and psychos, just complete fucking lunatics that murdered, literally everyone for sport. And that was just,
for sure. There's a show about
did.
Vikings. Like, I'm Norwegian. Like, Vikings were pretty brutal too, right?
Yep.
And so I feel like it stings a little bit more when it's like closer on the historical timeline.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like, I even think that we're kind of getting a little bit scary. Like, there's a show that I actually enjoy watching, but like, I realize it's sort of controversial. Man in the High Castle. And Man in the High Castle is super interesting because I feel like in some ways it's sort of glorifying it. It's glorifying what happened because it's alternative history, and I really love sci-fi, and I think that's what draws me in. But like, it's about Nazis, and I feel like it's glorifying Nazis in some way. Like,
really,
if they're trying to make it look bad, they're doing a really bad job of it. Really,
was sort of the I know that's an interesting take. Well, and again, this is what Dan Carlin would talk about as far as especially Alexander the Great, who was credited with basically tying Eurasia together, creating trade channels and language channels and common education and doing all these very civilizing things. But what he really did was go and murder everyone and say, if you don't do this, we're going to murder you, with an army at his back. You know what I mean? Like that. And so it's if Hitler had won, maybe that's 1,000 years from now, I'd be like, well, they were very organized. The trains always showed up on time.
Yeah, I think it is an interesting thing because like Genghis Khan, like, there's probably a fucking restaurant chain called Genghis Khan's. You know what I mean? Like, nobody has any issues with it. And yeah, he wasn't really defeated. I think he had a dynasty for however many years. I don't know.
Yeah, his son was really, really good at leading, actually. Still fairly savage, but ended up consolidating most of the Chinese empire under for a while. And then, of course, their kids after that, it started to break up or whatever. But
brutal, dude. They're brutal. I really love it. Like, I like learning about it. But yeah, no, I mean, like, I guess just to like wrap up that thought about Christianity is like, and Rome and Catholicism is like, it's kind of a hard topic for me sometimes because I think what happened was I was a Christian and then I rebelled against it. But now when you look at it in a more secular way, you can see that, there was something pretty special about this guy. And I mentioned that he's not Hitler, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's really true. It's like the guy was preaching love and he did it on in such an effective way that it's still vibrating throughout conversations thousands of years later. I'm not saying you should go and be a Christian, but I think there is a framework that I think will eventually be discovered, maybe, where people can appreciate Jesus and what he stood for without needing to be going to churches or praying or believing even in gods. And that these kind of community things are sort of valuable. And because you do some of these things, like you have these kind of meetings. And so like, but now I don't believe in any gods, and I don't believe that Jesus was a god. I almost don't even believe that he existed sometimes, but as a character in lore for humans, he's a pretty important piece. Like, if it was a Magic the Gathering set, I'd probably want to have his card in my little set because I feel like I could fuck the other guy up because the dude did a lot of shit that was like kind of special. Right?
I mean, you could basically be the probably largest controlling lever in all of Western culture for checks notes 1,500 years. So yeah, that'd be a highly powered rare card of doom. Rob said, what about psychedelics and its possible effects in religion? N-dimensional beings due to psychedelic experience. The entire time that you were talking about, aliens being potentially like multi-dimensional, hyper intelligent beings, all I could think about was ayahuasca.
Yeah,
and
I think the multi-dimensionality
in there
is super important.
Yeah,
and like so I think that's probably a topic in and of itself, because like there's one pattern with like UFOs that I think is interesting, is that people describe it as like, well, it was there and then it wasn't, and it's like, let's just say it was true that was like, because there's so many people that said it, like I don't know, maybe 100 people independently, or maybe they're not independent though. I'm skeptical of that, because lore, the way that it's passed on, it could be passed on to somebody else, and I've seen some really powerful psychological cases where, I was reading this documentary about pedophilia. It was really interesting because it described this teacher who was accused of pedophilia, and then everybody believed it, right? And there were all these fantastic stories about how it was done, and so these investigators looked into it, right? This is really interesting documentary. I forget what it was, but it was supposed to illustrate how certain phenomena that are fake can become real to so many people. And pedophilia is probably not the right topic for it, but what they ended up figuring out
was perfect right now. QAnon.
Yeah. So, and I want to figure out what this because they have these stories about how he would make all these kids come over to his house and play leapfrog fucking naked and just doing all this crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
And then they ended up looking into it, and they figured out that not only was it fake, but everything about every story about this guy was fake.
Wow.
But it was like a group hysteria.
Yeah.
And actually that happened to me in school, because I remember there was a gym teacher, and everybody would just say, oh yeah, like he hooks up with this girl, and it would just, everyone would say it, and it was like, it kind of ties into this fake news psychology and everything, where it's like,
the mirror effect. To say it, well, I mean, Mein Kampf fits in there. Say the big lie a million times, then it becomes the truth. And we're watching that happen every day.
Than that, I think that there's some truth in that, and that's one angle for a lie and one angle for propaganda. But see, there's an easier way. Like, and this what's super interesting, right? Is that a well-crafted story, you don't have to say it 1,000 times. You don't even have to finish the fucking story, because it's so interesting that it spreads like wildfire. And it's just like, like Trump did this, like, right? And it's like, if the story is interesting enough, it's like we throw out all reason. It's like it gets its own momentum. Viral. You don't have to say it 1,000 times. You could say it half of one time, and the shit is everywhere.
People will fill in the blanks. Yep, I agree.
And so I'm getting kind of distracted, but I think that and what they figured out was that story was fake, right? The story was fake. And most of these pedophile stories are real, and people try to say they're fake. And so that's fucked up. And so it's not the greatest example, but like group hysteria is very important, and how that actually works, and how those kind of trends happen. And I think that it's very possible that, at one point in time, there wasn't an alien character in our lore, right? Yep. And then all of a sudden he became in the lore. So the question is, did that character get introduced into our lore because it's a fucking real thing, like a real animal, like one of these exotic fish that we find at the bottom of the ocean that look like an illustrator drew this shit because of how fake this shit looks? And it's a real fucking thing in the bottom of our ocean. Yeah, it does. It has 10 light bulbs on its head, and it fucking morphs into a fucking Power Ranger whenever it wants to. Like, that is like a real thing. Like, an octopus is a real fucking thing. But if you try to explain it, octopuses to me are more exotic than aliens. Okay, it's way more exotic. That is a fucking alien.
They really are amazing. I got to dig out a book that I read recently that I know you're gonna dig. But the alien archetype in our mythology didn't exist before science fiction. Let's put it that way. So over the course of 75 years of science fiction, you get to this point where something strange supposedly happens in the sky, and the nerd in town who's read every single science fiction book is like, oh, it must be aliens. And then boom, the guy with the cows is like, there's aliens. And then that guy's wife calls her friend out, like, oh, dude, there's fucking aliens. And
well, yeah, it exists as a lore. Like your framework for explaining something comes from something you learned from somebody else. That's the reason why, like, if we see a flying vehicle, right, we have this framework to describe it. It would be, well, it's like an alien rocket. We haven't gotten there yet. It was a flying saucer, right? Why is it a fucking saucer? I don't know, because all these rednecks were eating their potatoes out of saucer plates or something. I don't know, right? That's probably what it is. Really, probably saucer comes from a fucking plate. And that's why they described it as, remember this term, chariots in the sky. Remember that? Well, why did they call it a chariot in the sky? It's because all these clowns are riding around in chariots all the time, right? So if you have a framework, then of course that's going to be the kind of semantics you use, right? And I think that that's an interesting point. It's like, did the alien get there because it really was there? Or did it get there because somebody incepted everybody with this kind of lore character, and now that spread like wildfire, right?
Yeah, I think that the mechanisms behind that, not only sort of how it begins, but how it propagates, I think is endlessly fascinating. All right, I gotta call this quits. But what are the chances that I can book you for same time next week to do round 2?
I mean, anytime really. I think that's fine. If we do it ahead of time, we can do it whenever. Just
okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'd love to do this. We could do whatever updates and conversations need to happen around Chirp. I still have some questions we didn't get to. We can get to next time. But yeah, I love the idea that we just let the conversation go where the heck we want it to go to, because it's just cool to hang out with you.
Likewise.
Cool beans, bro. Heems. All right. Well, and thanks to everybody who hung out. If you happen to share this on Chirp and ping it to your Twitter, tag me, and I'll fire you a big old tip of coins.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
So there. Have a good night. Ciao.